On February 3rd, 2026, Floyd Mayweather filed a lawsuit in California against Showtime Networks and Steven Espinoza, claiming they helped his former advisor, Al Heyman, misappropriate a huge chunk of his fight earnings to the tune of $340 million.
And he had been giving him 50,000 and 50,000 and 50,000. He had already gave Gamboa about 300,000 to chill on the side. And then we ended up, when he did go in, I ended up picking up all the fighters.
Al Heyman was so good at his job, yes, that he was clowning these networks. He was out negotiating the networks to the point where they were giving you an inferior product because his fighters were getting overpaid for lesser fights.
We weren't getting overpaid.
In that,
we weren't getting
I'm happy
overpaid
for every dollar made.
Freddie Hernandez.
Yeah, right.
This is the golden child of Al Heyman right here.
But it is admirable that Al Heyman not only did his job so well, but was helping fighters get rich while he was doing it. He created a climate where fighters started to begin to believe that they were worth more money. I don't mean to me. You're worth all the money in the world to me, the fighters. But I mean to the marketplace.
Yep. My thought is everything has a price. There is not a number that can get you back in that ring. 80 million, 100 million.
Nah, because now you selling your soul.
$100 million, you can have my soul.
That's you. Now we know your character. Sometimes, you know, you look at people and you be like, dang, man, you ain't got no dignity, you ain't got no morals. Like, come on, man. Like, what you gonna stand for if everything is about money? Like, I never was in a sport.
Crawford would run through you. That's the savage jab 50 Cent just fired at Floyd Mayweather Jr., and it all ties into a staggering $340 million courtroom war. What makes this drama so explosive isn't only the dollar figure, but how massive the accusations are. Mayweather isn't pointing to small accounting slip-ups. He's alleging a calculated, long-running operation. Court filings suggest that money from some of boxing's biggest nights, including his blockbuster clash with Conor McGregor, may not have been properly accounted for. Now, the undefeated legend believes the truth may have been hidden in plain sight for years.
Floyd is stepping into the courtroom to fight for money he claims that he was never paid, and he wants justice on his terms. So let's talk details. Let me tell you about the lawsuits. On February 3rd, 2026, Floyd Mayweather filed a lawsuit in California against Showtime Networks and Steven Espinoza, claiming they helped his former advisor, Al Heyman, misappropriate a huge chunk of his fight earnings to the tune of $340 million. Mayweather says the money is still missing and unaccounted for, and he's now suing Showtime and Espinoza for aiding and abetting breach of fiduciary duty, civil conspiracy to commit fraud. Ooh, that's...
At the heart of the controversy is Al Heyman, once seen as Mayweather's most trusted partner. The lawsuit paints a picture of betrayal, accusing Heyman of quietly redirecting fight revenue without Floyd's awareness. It points to missing paperwork, incomplete financial trails, and suspicious transactions that allegedly mask the real earnings. For a fighter known for controlling every detail of his empire, this strikes at its very core.
Floyd argues that during his legendary career, where he generated $1 billion in revenue plus and pay-per-view money, a significant portion of the funds that he made through those events, through his fights, didn't make it into his hands because they were funneled through accounts controlled by his then advisor, Al Heyman. Now, Mayweather says that Showtime delivered those checks and funds through systems that helped Heyman get the money instead of paying Floyd directly. The lawsuit also points to some of boxing's biggest pay-per-view fights, including fights against Manny Pacquiao and Conor McGregor, events that generated hundreds of millions in revenue. Mayweather's legal team said he generated hundreds of millions in revenue for Showtime and now wants to recover what he claims was unfairly.
Concerns reportedly escalated when Mayweather assembled a new advisory team. After Richard Schaefer and others pushed for full transparency, Showtime Networks allegedly failed to deliver complete financial disclosures. Gaps tied to mega events with Manny Pacquiao and McGregor raised serious alarms. These were among the richest fights ever staged, Yet, according to the claims, the reported figures didn't fully align.
Al Heyman himself, the advisor that Mayweather blames for the missing money, is not named as a defendant in the lawsuit. Instead, Mayweather's legal action targets the network and Steven Espinoza. He claims they aided and abetted these alleged financial wrongdoings. So what does this mean, and what's like a potential outcome for this case that's coming up? Well, the lawsuit could have some pretty serious implications, not only for Floyd's legacy, but also for how networks and advisors handle fighter compensations. Mayweather wants hundreds of millions back plus punitive damages, pushing this beyond a simple accounting dispute. If the court rules in his favor, it could open the door to more scrutiny of boxing's behind-the-scenes financial relations.
Now, this legal fight could pull back the curtain on what really happened behind boxing's biggest paydays. With $340 million allegedly untracked and potential damages climbing even higher, the impact could ripple across the entire sport. As fans try to process it all, voices like 50 Cent are amplifying the chaos, turning a legal dispute into a worldwide spectacle where reputations hang in the balance.
Boxing promotion company once.
Yeah.
What happened with the boxing promotion company?
That really happened, Ken, because of my relationship with Floyd. You know what I mean? I didn't have interest in being a promoter, like, out the gate. It was just, he was doing Mayweather promotions at the time, and then he had to do 90 days. He was going to jail. And he had fighters, he had Marcus Gamboa, he had guys that was just lingering. I'm like, champ, if they're gonna leave. You go to jail, they're just gonna leave. Like,
Right.
and he had been giving him 50,000, 50,000, 50,000. He had already gave Gamboa about 300,000 to chill on the side. And then we ended up, when he did go in, I ended up picking up all the fighters.
Right.
And so Marcus Gamboa, I had James Kirkland, Andre Durrell, Hilly Dip, he was the IBF champion at that point, and then a few other guys younger guys that I picked.
Never one to hold back, 50 Cent quickly turned the situation into pure entertainment. Keeping his long-standing rivalry with Mayweather alive, he mocked him publicly and even predloged a tongue-in-cheek solution. According to him, the only way to recover that kind of cash is to step back into the ring for massive paydays, starting with Mike, then a super fight against Terence Crawford. Meanwhile, Max Kellerman offered a more analytical take, describing Heyman as one of boxing's most powerful figures. He noted that while Heyman's structure helped fighters earn safely, it may have slowed down some of the matchups fans wanted most.
Al Heyman was so good at his job that he was clowning these networks. He was out negotiating the networks to the point where they were giving you an inferior product because his fighters were getting overpaid for lesser fights.
We weren't getting overpaid.
In that,
We weren't getting
I'm happy for every dollar made.
Freddie Hernandez.
Yeah, right.
This is the golden child of Al Heyman right here.
But it is admirable that Al Heyman not only did his job so well, but was helping fighters get rich while he was doing it. He created a climate where fighters started to begin to believe that they were worth more money. I don't mean to me. You're worth all the money in the world to me, the fighters. But I mean to the marketplace than they actually were. And so now it became difficult to make fights.
I mean, you really want us to change our mindset, right? The fact that we were putting our health in jeopardy every time we stepped in that ring. So we had to make sure to get every penny.
Then Andre Berto stepped in, highlighting how complicated and sometimes unfair the business side of boxing can be. He defended Heyman, arguing the system was designed to protect fighters. Kellerman, however, maintained his stance, crediting its success while pointing out its limitations. As debate intensified, Turki Alalshik entered the conversation, offering fighters bigger deals, clearer structures, and global exposure.
Every time we stepped in there, I mean, that's the mindset that he put in our minds on a regular basis.
And good for him. But when he does his job that well, then Andre Berto doesn't have to take the best fights to make the money, and now me as the consumer doesn't get to see the best Andre Berto fights. My point is, fighters started thinking that the market was different than it really was, because Al was juicing the market. In that climate, big fights stopped getting made, because fighters are thinking, I'm making all this money for not taking a risk. You want me to fight that killer, or their managers want me to fight that killer for not much more money? Into that terrible situation for the consumer stepped Turki Al-Sheikh, who said, oh, okay, wait, what are your petty differences? It's over $1 million or $2 million? Here it is. Hey, here's my gift to the boxing world. Everyone take.
Yet the situation keeps getting more tangled. Even with larger financial opportunities available, many dream bouts still aren't materializing. That raises deeper questions about how the sport is structured. Kellerman pointed to a potential clash between Virgil Ortiz Jr. and Jaron Ennis, a fight fans are still waiting to see. Now, attention is shifting toward Zuffa boxing, which could significantly reshape the landscape.
Now the problem is...
He's overpaying. Like I said, I'm not mad at that. If you're gonna give me the money, we're gonna fight whoever you want me to
But
fight.
Trey, now the problem is Boots and Virgil can't get made for $6 million plus for the fighters? You think the average person on the street in this country knows who Boots and Virgil?
At the same time, 50 Cent's comments raise another intriguing question. Is a Mayweather versus Crawford showdown quietly being lined up? His remarks hint that something bigger could be unfolding behind closed doors. Beneath the humor and headlines, speculation continues to grow about whether this mega fight might actually become reality.
A lot of comparisons between Terrence Crawford and Floyd Mayweather. We've even had the conversation to go as far as who would win in a fight between Terrence and Floyd. And I truly don't know the answer to that question.
I do.
You do?
Yes.
Yeah. Who will win that fight?
Floyd.
Floyd will win that
Yes,
fight.
sir. I love you, Terrence.
Always figures it out.
Yeah,
Yes. he's a chess master.
Yeah, his IQ and
But
that
the
shit
funny
is
thing
crazy.
about it is Terrence has been the only other guy that people can say he always figures it out.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that's true.
But you gotta have an OG somewhere.
Anybody else? Yeah.
There's an OG
Somebody
somewhere.
gotta pioneer it, right? Yeah, you gotta.
There's an
yeah.
OG you can't out-figure out somewhere. And I just believe Floyd is that OG you can't out.
On the flip side, Crawford doesn't appear motivated by money-driven bouts. He's made it clear that even massive offers won't sway him for the wrong reasons. For him, legacy outweighs financial gain. Meanwhile, Mayweather's history of comebacks reinforces the idea that he prioritizes lucrative opportunities.
Thought is everything has a price. There is not a number that can get you back in that ring. 80 million, 100 million.
Nah, because now you selling your soul.
$100 million, you can have my soul.
That's you. Now we know your character. Sometimes, you know, you look at people and you be like, dang, man, you ain't got no dignity. You ain't got no morals. Like, come on, man. Like, what you gonna stand for if everything is about money? Like, I never was in a sport because of money, you know? Of course, I was in a sport to make money, but I wanted to be a world champion. You know, I wanted to do something that I set my sights out to do as a little boy. Money wasn't the motivation. Me being a world champion was the motivation.
Crawford has often said his childhood goal was to become a world champion, and he's already fulfilled it. At this stage, chasing money alone would mean compromising his principles. His focus remains on protecting the legacy he built through discipline and dominance in the ring.
Me accomplishing all the things that I've accomplished along the way on my journey, you know, it was extra credit. It was extra credit because it's coming from the hood. It was like, man, I just want to be a world champion because that's just my dream. So when I became a world champion, it was just like, man, all this other stuff is like a cherry on the top. Like, you know what I mean? I did what I set my sights out to do. It was evident that I wasn't gonna let nothing stand in the way of me accomplishing that goal in my life. My mom telling me all the time, you need to get a plan B. You need to go to school. Man, you know me in school don't rock. What I'm going to school for?
Y'all lay tight.
I'm gonna go to school and I'm gonna get in the fight. I'm gonna get kicked out of college.
Meanwhile, Mayweather's lawsuit is raising serious concerns about boxing's inner workings. He claims revenue from his biggest fights, including Pacquiao and McGregor, was funneled into accounts controlled by Heyman. When his team later requested records from Showtime, they were reportedly told key documents had been destroyed in a flood. Now suing Showtime and Steven Espinoza for fraud and conspiracy, Mayweather is seeking even larger damages. His camp argues he generated enormous profits for the network and is now fighting to reclaim what he believes is owed.
Some of your best fights happen under the Showtime platform. Can you share a little bit of your take on what's going on with Mayweather? He's suing Showtime for $340 million.
Nah, we don't care. Money man trying to get more money and had a lot of money and did dumb things with money, and you know, it is what it is, man. Rich people got rich people problems. I ain't mad.
Still, skepticism remains. Some question whether the claims are entirely legitimate or part of a broader narrative. Critics note that Mayweather isn't directly suing Heyman, instead targeting Showtime, the entity responsible for distributing payments. That raises a critical question. How could something this significant go unnoticed for so long? If the funds were issued, where did they ultimately end up? Timing, awareness, and intent are now under intense examination.
I don't know whether or not Al Heyman did any of this or not. This is an accusation made in a civil court by Floyd Mayweather Jr., not even against Al Heyman. We'll see where exactly and why, I don't know, he wouldn't sue Al Heyman. He's suing the people that paid Al Heyman the money and appropriated it to Al Heyman instead of to Floyd Mayweather Jr. directly. We would have to understand the contractual relationships between those parties to see whether or not this is something that Floyd should have known about or did know about or maybe did not understand. Because it seems very, very funny that Floyd would not know that the money was getting paid to Al Heyman and not direct.
From 50 Cent's fiery taunts to the controversy surrounding Mayweather's $340 million case, the boxing world is on edge. Crawford remains locked in on legacy, while Mayweather continues to dominate headlines. Could all of this build toward a blockbuster showdown, or is it just hype? The answer could reshape everything.